Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. My name is Joe Holcomb. I'm the Community Engagement Manager here at the Battery. I want to thank you for joining us tonight for the Moon Hollow Estate wine tasting from the beautiful Birch Estate up in Sonoma County. We'll be recording this event, so if you can't stay for the whole thing, please, we're going to be posting it online and mailing it out to you tomorrow. We'll be taking questions throughout. What we'll do is after we taste each wine, we will ask for the questions in the chat. So provide those there, and we'll be taking them in between the wines. I do want to turn it over now to the Battery Dream Wine team. We've got our chef sommelier, Dan Cameron, who's been with the Battery for many years, and of course, a familiar face and longtime Battery family member, Christophe Tassan, who is the wine director for the Moon Hollow Estate wines. I'm going to turn it over to them. I just have to unmute everybody, so one moment.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to this great tasting event. We're really happy that you can join us this evening. I'm feeling super fortunate that we're here. We're able to take off our masks and do this in person now that we've all been vaccinated here. And we hope the same for you all as well. Things are opening up, and there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and I think it's such a great way to celebrate that with this amazing Moon Hollow tasting with my mentor and good friend Christophe here. It's great to have him. So thank you for joining this evening, and welcome. So as the title says, we're going to be going through the Moon Hollow lineup of the newest releases, and then a couple library releases as well, some of the older vintages. And we're here basically to taste them, to get familiar with the property, to get familiar with the wines, and pick Christophe's brain as to what makes these wines so special, because they truly are. And I think you'll see that as we go throughout the 6 wines, what makes them different, what makes them unique, and why they really do have a place of notoriety in the Sonoma and wine world. So without further ado, we should unmask the man himself as well. And there he is, hey! And begin. So, Christophe, welcome.
Daniel, thank you for the greeting. It warms my heart, and you can't believe on being able to take and advantage of the gift all the time you're giving me, your curiosity, all of the members that I've seen so many friends joining on the list, and sharing the wine production of Michael and Sophie of the family is for me an amazing opportunity to tell you a special story from the mountain of Sonoma. So thank you for your time. Thank you for deciding to join us. Thank you for getting the wine sampler or not with you, but to listen to me and the story I'm gonna share with you of Moon Hollow, this fantastic place in Sonoma. So I must start with a little bit of a history. I mean, and very shortly on me, because I'm a little, piece of sand that might make the beach very beautiful, but there is zillions other pieces of sand on the beach that participate to that thing. So history in Sonoma, but I moved to California. It's wine that brought me here. It's my envy of sharing and the passion of wine that brought me to join the Birch family and be their wine advisor. So first at the Battery at the opening, wine director. That now Daniel, I'm so happy and proud that he take over the program, and so I can focus on the production now. The Michael and Sophie purchased Moon Estate, Moon Hollow Estate in 2011, and so it's a 10 years now in the making project that we're the first one to share it together. There has been a few friends before, like I see them in the name. I mean, Dan, Kinsley, Yvonne, Julia, Debbie, Rachel. I mean, again, it warms to know that you're all behind the screen and beyond the screen to share with you, to share with us that story of Moon Hollow wine. So when they purchased that property in 2011, we we had to study around what was the history of that place to rebuild the vineyard. And we replanted the vineyard in 2012. So not further on the discussion, let's share about the first wine, because yeah, we're going to taste 6 wines. So if I talk too much, we're not going to taste anything. So let's try to make it around the wine and have the wine guiding us through that visit. And I'm happy to present the Moon Hollow White. I'm not saying Moon Hollow Sauvignon Blanc on purpose because it's Moon Hollow White. Why am I not saying Sauvignon Blanc? Because if you're the one tasting the wine with us, you will see that, I mean, the color is pretty light, very bright, and giving back luminosity on the golden side and almost with silver reflex. But when you approach the nose, there is a very delicate and down tune of a flavor profile coming out to the wine. So this is an amazing wine to explain the specific soil of that area. So obviously we are on the volcanic region here, with Napa being on the alluvial with the river, but any things on the side of the mountains, like Moon Mountain District, where we are, is being historically placed as the first location to produce high-end wines, or wine that has been bottled to be consumed bottled in California in the 19th century. When you go up the road, and I have to tell you where the vineyard is located. So it's Sonoma, close to Sonoma, the city. If you're familiar with where Sebastiani is located, or Buena Vista, you go up in the mountain now, and you have the vineyards spread along on that area that became in 2013 Moon Mountain District of Sonoma. But so, if the place is named Moon Mountain, it's even the name of Sonoma. Sonoma, I read in an amazing book that I highly recommend you to discover. So, the Sonoma wine and the story of Buena Vista from Charles Sullivan. You have to get that book and read what happened centuries ago. And it tells that Buena Vista was the first winery there that produced wine to be bottled back. They were almost on the foothills of the mountains here. The reason is you don't have mechanical tools to do the vineyard growing. So then you come up and you go further in the mountain now to grow vineyards, and it is on a special location, but it's a very volcanic soil. And Sonoma is the translation, if I read well again, of Moon Mountain in the local dialect. So it tells you all of that story, that if it's called Moon Mountain, it's because there is very little vegetation. There is a very hard soil and a very volcanic influence soil, which is the soil where this white wine is growing. You have almost leftover of the ashes on the soil, so a specific pH and a very poor organic soil. Therefore, even the Sauvignon Blanc, that is a very aromatic grape, is not showing up at the aromatic. I dare you on the blind tasting to call that wine a Sauvignon Blanc. It is, though, a signature white wine that has almost a salinity, an identity that comes out for this influential soil of volcanic ashes. And this is the purpose of the plantation when the vineyard was replanted, to get an expression of the site. And this is the philosophy of the estate that I'm going to, again, I'm so proud to share the story with you today. You know, wine tasting is some enjoyment. It is something nice, it's pleasant. But the most important on the wine tasting is, what is the story you are unfolding when you open a bottle of wine? It has to bring you somewhere. It has to arise your memories, your souvenir. It has to bring you back to the memories you have of a place. So Moon Hollow is a specific place, and here is the example of a place. So going back to the wine, we approach that color, and yes, the aromatics are very minimal. It's a very delicate wine. Therefore, I think all of the strength and the specific of the wine comes from that amazing, unique balance you have on the wine. What we are looking for on doing the winemaking is harmony. So for that Sauvignon Blanc, the winemaking is in concrete eggs, in neutral barrels, and as well in regular stainless steel tanks. So there is a mix of tools to proceed to the fermentation to build up on layers to the wine to bring it to express its strength on the textural approach of the wine. So, cheers, Ian. And the point I'm trying to catch your attention to approach the wine is, I mean, the Sauvignon Blanc usually is very refreshing, acidic, grapefruit, grassy wine, amazingly aromatic and refreshing. That wine has a specific flavor profile that is herbal, sappy. You have a little bit of this, what we are going to find back again with the red wine, a little bit of this bay leaves, mountain trees and yeast and all of these flavors of almost sometimes when you drive on spring now you smell the eucalyptus trees. So all of the trees are influencing the vineyard because they are surrounding the vineyard. We don't have any closest neighbors on the vine, so it's a part of the property. So 2019 of the Sauvignon Blanc, the perfect companion to I mean, it's crab season, so go ahead. Almost the end of it. You have California halibut now, just sauté the seared pan. That's an amazing pairing if you have just a lemon slice and olive oil. Beautiful, beautiful pairing. So, and to finish about the history of Sonoma, one of our famous neighbors, I'm going to name it because we're part of a family in Sonoma. There is not that many wineries. You have about 19 wineries that are part of the appellation Moon Mountain District of Sonoma that has been recognized in 2013. So the winery I'm discussing about is Stonehenge. Stonehenge has on its library arrowheads that has been stone carved by a population that lived in Sonoma, but not 200 years ago, 2,000 years ago. So the reason of mentioning that is that the part of the history is obviously everybody knows it here. The climate is so friendly. And then there have been the fight of the colonizations, the influence of Italians, the influence of Spanish, Mexicans, and then the history around that. But you're going to find wine where is the population, where is the civilization. So Sonoma was the first area to grow vineyards, then switching after that to the other part of the valley and the mountains and Napa. But historically, you have around Moon Hollow Vineyard, Buena Vista, down the hill. You have Monterosso, which is the most interesting Cabernet Sauvignon of Sonoma that we probably find in the older days we have Martini wines and the mountain fruit in the 50s already. So Cabernet Sauvignon is a long history. So we planted the vineyard with a little bit of Sauvignon Blanc. We planted with Cabernet Sauvignon, with Cabernet Franc, and Grenache and Syrah Mourvedre. We thought it's going to be boring in 20 years from now if everybody drinks only Cabernet. So why won't we make a little bit of Grenache? And probably now the invite of tasting the next wine. Make some room in the glass.
I'm just going to interrupt quickly. We should go to Joe and see, do we have any questions first and foremost?
Not yet, but
no questions yet. Don't hesitate. Please ask Joe any questions. We will be happy to answer them. By we, I mean that.
Yeah, I'm saying hi to Susanna as well, Megan. I mean, so many friends. I love you all. You know that wine, there is no reason to make wine if you don't share it with a friend. So that's a beautiful time you're giving me a gift, such a gift. And with all of these hopes to getting out of this situation, I mean, in spring, nature is not waiting. Nature is continuing to build and exist and inviting us to share. So the next wine we're tasting is the Grenache. So when we met in 2011 and decided on the future of this vineyard, I'm now very much trying to pick my words on what is the sense of why doing wine? What is the sense of having a vineyard? So I want to point out with the Grenache now what Michael and Soshi decided to sponsor, to spend the time for, and to develop on that property is building a farm that is a complete farm with growing animals and building in that area of the hundreds of acres that they purchase around that Sonoma Park that go up the hill to Napa is building the cycle of life, the complete cycle of life. So there are animals over there, a special breed of pigs. There are ducks, chickens, I mean, or poultry. Then you have a cultural with citrus. You have a library of herbs and spices, and a garden that we take the goods to bring them to the battery. Olive oil, yes. Almost forgot. Olive oil, yes. The permaculture, you hear that word for people that does biodynamic culture. It's the relationship in between all of the elements of life in that farm that Michael and Sochier choose a team to build around. And the first thing I'm going to say now is 2017, the vineyard has saved the property from burning. The vineyard was the part that stopped the fire from the Sonoma that came on one side and then the other side after. So the culture of the mix of cultures in the property brings that part of the mountain back to life. And it's time consuming for the people that works on the farm. It's the animals are part of that cycle of life. And now it's rebuilt the nature to a cycle. So the vineyard is part of that culture. And it's a very small vineyard. It's 20 acres. So we only produce about 2,000 cases of wine. But it's an important part of the life, the culture, the yeast. The sheep were in the vineyard 2 weeks ago before the vine blooms, because they will eat the vine leaf. But they are part of the cycle that eat the cover crop and left the nutrients on the soil after. So the farm is an amazing beauty that we hope in the future we'll be able to greet you up there. But that's the vineyard is part of that life. So we replanted the vineyard in 2012. Grenache, we were thinking, okay, what is going to be different than Cabernet Sauvignon that will bring an identity to the place? So with such a climate, we thought as well what has been successful in California with Santa Barbara and the Rhone Rangers that they brought for their fun, the Grenache, the Syrah, the Mourvedre, the Mediterranean varietals that were able to grow here and acclimated or used to the global warming that we were already facing in 2012. When the vineyard was planted, the question was, we plant now, but what will be the result in 20 years from now, or 30 years from now, or in the future, for the kids that are going to take over the vineyard? What will be the future of being able to grow on that location? So Mediterranean varietals were the choice, because they're used to that heat, and they take advantage of that heat and drought to grow, like the Mourvedre, bringing the backbone to the wine, that there is a little bit of Mourvedre in the Grenache, about 12%, 15%. So cheers to the Grenache. And the beauty of Grenache and Syrah, that Syrah we're going to taste right after, 2018. The beauty of Grenache is it takes all of that strength and heat from the sun to build up on the layers and complexity. Grenache is very similar to Pinot Noir, I think, on the aspect. You can almost see through the wine, and it has this delicate, harmonious, like dark tea, rooibos, red tea, lapsang souchong, smoked tea, raspberry biscuit flavor profile that is its signature style. And then the Mourvedre is building the structure for the aging. But having made choice to grow Grenache, Mourvedre, and Syrah, the property, is making the choice to offer a proprietary red wine that is a signature of the philosophy now, not probably the place, because the grapes are going to take over on what is on that volcanic soil, but a very harmonious wine, delicate, soft in tannins, and that is a food-friendly combination for the goods that we can find around. So cheers to the Grenache, monsieur, friends. That is that almost raspberry brandy. There is this like sour fruit. It's not the sweetness of the strawberry. You have this kind of like slightly almost pomegranate as well, but slightly acidic part of the fruit, and this spice note with a little bit of pepper berries. let the wine guide you, let the wine travel with you, bring you to the place, the memories you had hopefully you travel to the Rhone Valley and you remember the time of vacation and tastings in the Châteauneuf-du-Pape, all of these famous places where Grenache lives, or south of France, or even Spain, Grenache, or Italy, now in Sicily. So Grenache is a very Mediterranean signature style of a grape. And just a few more words about the vineyard that we created. On the Grenache was sourced from Tablas Creek. It's named the place because they were bringing the best Grenache from the Rhone Valley when in Santa Barbara. So Phil Couturier, who's the vineyard manager at Moon Mountain, has taken the cuts of all of the grapes from the best places producing in California. The Sauvignon Blanc comes from Hazeley, from Phelps. I mean, he picked from all of the best places of production. Cabernet Sauvignon, we have 3 different rootstock for the Cabernet Sauvignon. I'll explain when we taste the Cabernet what is a rootstock, and we have 11 different clones of Cabernet Sauvignon to build up the complexity in the wine. And Grenache, Syrah, they all come from Santa Barbara. The Mourvedre comes from Bedrock here. Some of you are familiar with the Bedrock, but when you build a vineyard, you take the individual characters of the existing vineyards to build a new one who's going to be the result of all of the thought process and the analysis of which is the vineyard the best adapted to the place. So Grenache now in the palate, which is my friends.
You have one question.
So I'm going to go back to the comparison I made with the Pinot Noir at the start with Grenache. Often you're going to hear, yeah, Grenache is the secret weapon for sommeliers because it's food friendly. You're not going to take over your dinner, your meal. It's going to be an amazing pairing, even with a little bit of strength and that can afford the wine and the dish. But you have that amazing silkiness. It's all about textural balance to it. And the harmony is probably the most difficult to catch in the wine in California because the climate is like inviting a vine to produce very flavorful fruit, and it's sometimes becoming a little too big. We talk about Cabernet later on, but you'll see with the Syrah, it's a big one. But that's the delicate of the Grenache, and that there's a potential of aging, like you can see in the Rhone Valley, of decades of aging and delivering, continuing to deliver with this soft tannins, thanks to Grenache, a bit of travel, and then we go to the Syrah.
I think we have a question.
Yeah, Vivian asks, was smoke a problem for your 2018 wines?
The smoke question. We knew it was coming, so let's just get it done and over with.
Yes. All right. So the first experience that was pretty dramatic that we experimented was with 2017, because that's when the gigantic fire triggered here in Sonoma and destroyed part of Santa Rosa. Came to Sonoma, came back. It was 3 weeks of intense drama and loss of lives and many acres burned out. But where I'm going with this is, yes, the time of the harvest is about late September or early October. That's how it works here in California specifically, which is one of the most largest span from bud break to harvest, and an amazing cycle to build on the complexity of the fruit and the ripeness of the fruit. But going back to 2017, I can share with you what happened on the Wednesday, October 2nd. We're in the vineyard with the vineyard manager, the winemaker, and we are discussing the taste of the berries. That we walk the vineyard, we taste, we chew, we check on the seed, how is the seed is ripe. So the white wine has been harvested already. The Syrah has been harvested because we don't want the too powerful Syrah. But now the decision making is Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, what are we doing? And he said, the vineyard is pretty young, so we're going to harvest and co-ferment all of the Cabernet clones. So we're going to build on the complexity during the fermentation. And so the vineyard manager and the winemaker told me, okay, we're going to pick everything on Saturday. And if you remember well, so Saturday, October 6. The fire started on Sunday, October 7th. So we were safe on the Cabernet Sauvignon 2017, but therefore the Grenache and the Mourvedre were not harvested, and the Cabernet Franc was not harvested at that time. So you could not take the road to go up. Everything and everybody was evacuated over there, and the animals were with gates open. So if they needed to leave, because there was no way we would go grab the animals. So then we had to wait over 2 weeks to go back to the property with the firemen, and there was no way to harvest. So what happened during this time? You had heat waves on the day with the smoke. Overnight, there is a lot of water spread everywhere, and the Californian climate at that time, it's 58 degrees at night there, or 62. So you have a huge dew in the morning, and the dew on the berries are catching the smoke around. So yes, the smoke taint is pretty dramatic. And the Grenache, to take the example, has now been bottled. I mean, we produce about 100 cases of Grenache, and we are studying from it what is the incidence, how the smoke flavor developed on the wine. So fortunately for us, we harvested prior, and we have a single plot that is now experimental on aging. Probably it's not dangerous to drink. It's just annoying to smell and to taste in wine because it's an external component. So to answer your question, probably about the 2018 was the second time we did plan a harvest party at the estate. We gave up since then because 17 it's burning around. 18, what happened in 18? Yes, there was a fire, and to avoid the wind, PG&E shut off the power for almost a week. Yeah. I mean, all of the friends from Marine Valley, Marine County, remember that. So the harvest party canceled, but we did the harvest on time on 18, and there was no early October. It was 11th of October as well. There was no smoke taint on the wine. But I'm going to go now to 2020, last year, with a fire that started in Napa Valley, and Napa is right down below the other side of the mountain from the property. So we had smoke coming there, but we harvested the white already. The Syrah was harvested. The Cabernet was harvested. Again, it's the Grenache that was a little bit left over because we need the ripeness of the grape. And we have labs that shows that the wine is being, all the labs were so saturated around that we had to send the sample to Australia because they were having tools to do the labs because they were fighting fires as well. So, and because Australia obviously is not the harvesting season at the time we harvest here, Southern Hemisphere, Northern Hemisphere, so their lab were not saturated. So we sent the samples to Australia, and we got the result that there were very minimal smoke taint, fortunately, because there was nothing burning around the property. But yes, smoke taint is an interesting topic because it's something that's unwanted on the wine sometimes. Go to the Syrah.
Anything else? No. Go to Syrah.
Great. So third wine of the tasting, Syrah. I must share with you that when we built the vineyard, this idea of planting and growing Grenache, Syrah, and Mourvedre was to build what is famously known from Santa Barbara, the GSM, Grenache, Syrah, Mourvedre wine. So then nature decides every time we have tried to blend the Syrah with the Grenache and the Mourvedre, the Syrah is taking over like if you crack a yellow of an egg to make an omelette with the white, everything turns yellow. So Syrah, unfortunately, with that strength of a grape, it's a thick-skinned grape like Cabernet. It's very flavorful grape, and you'll see in the wine. So the decision has been made to take away the Syrah from the blend of the GSM. So now it's the GM. GM of the vineyard, and then the Syrah has been bottled separately. We'll go further with the Cabernet Sauvignon and the Cabernet Franc on the same idea of blending component, what we can do. So I think when you have two such different characters, if they don't give an amazing result being all together, they have to be kept separately, and that's why we bottle the Grenache now separately and the Syrah on its own. Friendly advice, we started to bottle the Grenache separately in 15 and 16. I don't want to confuse you with brands, but the Grenache you can have by the glass at the Battery now, which is Battery Crush, is the first harvest of the Grenache we've made on the property. It's an amazing deal for such a specific wine that has been labeled under a different label than Moon Hollow because it was not yet up to the standards of the production for the high-end label, which label I'm going to show you now, because Moon Hollow, now with our signature Kune Kune pig, is the new label exclusively estate. While we were planting the vineyard and was growing, we decided to purchase some fruit to the neighbors until 15 that we did our own bottling. But you will probably see as well the label with the moon, because that was our initial label. Now, the high-end estate is with a Kune Kune pig, which is a special breed we're growing on the property. Little story about the labels and to clarify what you might find to the table here and what is going to become now on, if you're part of the wine club and going to sign up to receive our production, you're going to have this animal label because the animals are part of the farm and not the signature of the property. Syrah, we said. Syrah, yeah, I mean, yeah, try to see through. Good luck, unless you have an X-ray or something. Or so Syrah, yes, is that kind of grape that has that thick skin and brings an amazing purple, deep color to the signature of the wine, and it's body language. You know, it's telling you, "Wait, dude, I'm here. I'm gonna jump on you. I'm gonna take you to an amazing trip and some magic that I'm only available to." So Syrah is the main grape of the Northern Rhone Valley, as you probably know or not, or I'm happy to tell you. And it's an indigenous grape from that location of granite soil. So Syrah on a granite soil has very little of expression because there is no soil for nutrients. So as soon as you put Syrah, like in Barossa Valley in Australia, or in some places on Central Valley that are highly organic of soil, now the Syrah is going to explode. So it's going to be like an air pressure tool in a saxophone. So the sound is going to be like weird. Syrah needs some constraints to try to not be too much on the glass. So we're happy to share with you the winemaking process to it, which in somehow the Syrah is the first to be harvested because we don't want to go that route of the overstrength and overpower style of a wine. And so it's always like in between the wine that we harvest mid-September, early September, and for the Cabernet and the Grenache that we always harvest in October. The Syrah is in between, and it's the way to find, for us to find the balance. So dark color, as soon as you bring some oxygen to the wine, it's going to deliver to you an amazing richness, which is, even on volcanic soil, it's something opposite to the white. But now the varietal is taking over that restraining of the soil, and it's fortunate to get that harmony on the Syrah because it brings that juiciness and that fruity and chewy and chunky of the wine, which signature, I think, on the style is like blackberry, licorice, fresh crushed pepper, berries. That's the poetry of the Syrah on the flavor profile, and obviously now on the tannins and the balance of the texture. That's what gives the chewy part of it, and what is the balance and the harmony to the wine. You need a little bit of tannins, you need a little bit of acidity to compensate that strength of alcohol. Enjoy the Syrah. Thank you. If you prepare your barbecue for the weekend, just a little duck breast magret, you know, roasted, bloody piece of the cut of beef, but take something that is juicy, bloody as well, young, boil the stew. That's a perfect companion for barbecue sauce, sweet sauce, because it's going to afford to match that intensity of flavors.
We have one question from Dan Kingsley.
Dan,
How does the Moon Hollow soil compare to the northern Rhone, where Syrah is the grape?
Dan, you know the property better than I am because you were the first there with the Beatrice. But thank you for the question. So I'm going to take your question as the reason of an explanation about wine. So wine is a pure product of the human being. If there is nobody to harvest the grape, fermenting and control the process to the harvest to making prisoner in a bottle the lifetime period of the grape. The fermentation is a natural process. But 40 years from now, in the past, questions were among the population like, what are you drinking? You know, beer, Chardonnay, are you Pinot guy, are you Cabernet guy? So it's the profile of the wine that you were envisioning to approach. Nowadays, the question is, who is making your wine? Who's the winemaker? Who's the maestro that command the recipe of the fruit? What are you going to do with the fruit on that place? I believe the question 30, 40 years from now, in the future, will be, where is your wine coming from? So I think your question about the soil is probably the most accurate question nowadays on where am I planting a vineyard? What am I going to get from the fruit? Because everything starts in the vineyard. So the difference of soil in northern Rhone Valley for the Syrah and the volcanic region here is two different worlds. Because Rhone Valley, northern Rhone Valley, is a very steep hillside vineyards that are growing on what is called the mother rock, the bedrock of Earth, which is granitic. So there are some places in northern Rhone where the Syrah is growing that you have barely 2 feet of soil, so which is very little for the grape. And that's what I was mentioning earlier. The reason of the Syrah growing in the northern Rhone being a grape, a varietal that was DNA analysis and proved to be born on that area, is because there is a plant that tried to produce a fruit with a huge struggle and now gives some flavor from that poor soil. So now you transport that Syrah in a different location where there is a lot of organic matter, and you're going to have an overpowered wine. So the interest on volcanic soil, like you can find it here around in Sonoma, more than Napa. There is not much Syrah in Napa, a little bit on minor families, Stagecoach and other places, but most of the Syrah is grown in Santa Barbara area because with one of them, the most famous is Saxon. But there are some volcanic soils, and you try to plant Syrah in places that they have very little to eat to grow and produce a fruit that is going to be a signature without being overpowered. So most important difference is granitic soil in northern Rhone Valley that you will barely have Syrah over 13.5% alcohol. California, here, even on volcanic soil, you have Syrah at 15.5 or 16% alcohol. So it says everything. The vine is going more freely to have an intense fruit to produce. So yeah, the difference of soils.
Rhonda asked, who is the winemaker? Is it the same winemaker for each varietal? And is all the fruit from the estate?
Thank you, Rhonda, for driving me to think that almost sounds natural to me, but that are surely important to know. So yes, starting 15 vintage, all the fruit is only coming from the vineyard, and you will see on the label estate vineyard only. So it's exclusive from the location. We did a few trials before with the 2012 vintage that I'm happy to share with you later on, but it is now exclusive fruit from that place. If you want to share a story, you cannot pick the fruit from the neighbors because the story is yours, and you need to be exclusively from estate fruit. That is the specific of Mourvedre that we start to offer today on the website, mourvedre.com, is the estate production only. We really want that soil influence and location, the signature to appear in the wine and be unique on that sense. So the winemaker now, yes, you can give probably 20 same chickens to 20 different cooks. the result is going to be different. So the winemaker is pretty important because he's going to be the one with the recipe, and then will probably process and understand the expectation of the fruit that you want to have in that location and the signature of the wine you want to achieve from that place. So the winemaker name is Marc Herold. So Marc Herold is his own brand in Napa Valley. He's the winemaker for a couple of our famous friends around, like Robert Cayman, that I highly recommend from the Mountain District of Sonoma as probably one of the top estates with formerly Harrowwood or other, people that built that story of the location. I mean, Robert Cayman came in the 80s here and purchased the land. And Marc Herold is his winemaker, so he knows the vineyards of Mountain District like his garden. So he knows how to extract the herbal part of that location and not take too much of the fruit side and make the balance and the harmony of the wine and translate what the wine can tell when you open the story. So Marc Herold, winemaker, and the only estate fruit which will be the specific, and yes, the follow story.
There's one more. You may want to wait till the end to answer this, but they asked, what is the ideal cellaring time for these?
Great. Yeah, I think maybe we'll go through that at the end. We'll address that. I'll make a note of that. I have one question. So we spoke about when we were sending the samples to Australia, and made me think Penfolds, an iconic brand label of South Australia, makes a Cabernet Syrah blend, bin 389. Any plans to ever experiment with that?
So
I'm putting him on the spot.
Hey, interestingly, you will find soon on the market Penfolds acquired an estate and made a brand in Napa.
Yeah.
So it's a good sign when you have iconic brands that got interest on a specific location. It means that what's happening there is important. You probably didn't hear about it, but there are a few now estates like Corgi that partnering with French wineries. Chateau Latour is now in charge of Aisley Vineyard. You have now even French brands in Oregon with Pinot Noir. It was known, but in Napa with Cabernet, it just highlights the identity and the unicity of a place, and they can partner, bring the knowledge, and I think it's all beneficial for the wine. So Penfolds is probably one of the most iconic brand in Australia, with having the most interesting Syrah out of the Rhone Valley, with what has been named in the old day Grange Hermitage, that is now fortunately Grange only, because Hermitage is only in the Rhone Valley. So the blending Cabernet Sauvignon and Syrah, I don't find that very crazy.
Yeah.
They are both high intensity grapes that have a high flavor profile for the wine. So what will be the outcome as far as seduction to the consumer? Now you're playing with the varietal typicity, not the soil. You're playing with building like a proprietary blend, which was the goal that we tried at the start. GSM, okay, we're going to do proprietary blend. The wine is good when we mix the three grapes, but I think we're missing the real unicity to it. So if you take a glass of Cabernet Sauvignon blend with Syrah, you're not going to be disappointed. But the second glass is going to be, you're going to probably be tired. But I don't want to assume, and that's probably because I just want to say something. It is the emotional part and what triggers your senses. So the result should be amazing because there are two grapes that could be together. But we're going to go to Cabernet Franc and Cabernet Sauvignon mix after for the same reason. I mean, who is the Malbec? Who's taking over? Cabernet Franc, there are places now like Argentina where the Malbec is an amazing red varietal grape that delivers a lot of pleasure, a lot of emotions, and for a price point that is affordable for everybody. I love this grape because you can have a lot of fun without spending the amount of money that you have to spend now in Napa Valley to get a unique wine that if you don't know the story, you just have the mechanical emotion and missing something.
Okay, good. Move on to the cap.
Here we go. So Cabernet Sauvignon 2018. Fortunately, without, I mean, let's say, I can try to minimize this smoke tank. No, we didn't have anything. Hey, don't trust me. Just try the wine. The wine will tell you. And I'm sure you're familiar with the Webtar barbecue notes, smoke notes. So if you find that in the wine, that means that the wine was affected with smoke taint. And it's not the case for us, for the Cab. And again, I'll let you, the wine, tell you the story and the truth. But we're pretty fortunate to have 18 as an amazing vintage for us to start as a launch for the wine club. So in between quotes, moonhollow.com, it's the website. You want to sign up when you try the wine, you like them, be curious and go to the website, sign up for the wine club, join us. And don't just join us to get some wine. There is so many competition around. So we're grateful of your thoughts, and you're grateful if you decide to join, because you're going to be the partner of the farm. You're going to be the partner of that lifestyle. You're going to be the partner of the ranch staff growing that life around the vineyard and around the animals and the thing. So Cabernet Sauvignon 2018. You probably would ask, why did you decide to plant Cabernet Sauvignon? Because we could have planted Pinot Noir. It's more successful. I mean, all of the estates are sold out of Pinot Noir at the time of the release from Sonoma Coast, Sonoma County. Hansel is the best example of Pinot Noir with the oldest vineyard in Sonoma, just a couple of miles away from Moon Hollow. So the decision to make Cabernet Sauvignon was taken because we believe, after the discussion that all the people involved in the vineyard management were, that the best example of oldest vintages in California are obviously with Cabernet Sauvignon and Napa and Sonoma. The potential of aging, the amazing balance that you get with mountain fruit. What does it mean, mountain fruit? Mountain fruit means you have berries that are smaller than what you can get on other places when the vine is growing more easily. So smaller berry means the ratio of skin and water completely different, that you have more flavors now, more tannins, more components that are going to build up on the wine complexity and have delivered that potential of aging. The oldest Cabernet Sauvignon I was lucky to taste here. It's one on the chandelier here in the wine cellar for the family of the Battery Club. Was 1959 Cabernet Sauvignon, Sonoma mountain fruit from Louis L. Martini. The wine was mind-blowing. I tasted many times, 78, 84, 89 Cabernet from Buena Vista. It's 40 years, 70 years almost of aging. It's amazing. The potential of the wine is amazing because mountain fruit, the vines are struggling a little more to grow on these volcanic soils. They are struggling a little more to grow because it's cooler temperature on a higher elevation. So therefore, the fruit is concentrated and you don't have the complexity of much sugar or alcohol. You have the complexity of the layers of all of the environment, the yeast, the plants, the trees, and this complexity makes the wine unique. I think the marker for Moon Mountain District wines on red that you will find in the Cabernet Sauvignon is herbal. It's the little signature of the sage, of the bay leaves that build a layer on top of the current of the fruit that you find on the wine. And that multi-layer is what is making that wine unique.
I think to that point, just quickly, what Christophe is describing is a word that's often used that I'm sure everyone has read or heard of terroir, which you've skirted all around from using, which I appreciate. But I think it's important to realize that really everything that's being described in terms of all of the climate, the soil, the external influences from around the vineyards is really truly the definition of terroir, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm glad you tried me on being a little more clear to our friends and my lovers, but the terroir, what is a terroir? I don't use the term often, like minerality, because it's very confusing while subject to interpretation. But yes, the terroir is what I described since we started the tasting as it's a concept. It's the result of a combination of exposure, influence of the vines, of sunset, sunrise, the soil. That the soil minerality in the wine doesn't exist, but the result of the mineral where the vine is growing is amazing as a footprint, as a signature on the wine. So the terroir is a concept that is a result that makes every place unique, because there is that synergy in between the sun, the soil, and then even the human nature can be part of a terroir on practice, my opinion, but it brings to a result that you cannot make somewhere else. What has been all my life around wine, winemaking, wine culture, discovering the world is wine is there is plenty of examples, but wine is another of the examples that teach you diversity, teach you tolerance, teach you acceptance, teach you to, instead of being, oh, yeah, I like that, let's be having curiosity and discovering a place. And what is unique in wine is when what the wine gives you from a place is a unique story. If everybody tells you the same story, it's boring. So you have to have a unique story. And I do my best to share with the wine the story of Moon Hollow because of the soil, because of how we did map the vineyard. So there is a slope, and we planted the whites on the sunrise, and we planted the Cabernet Sauvignon on the sunset. The Grenache is exactly on the top of the slope, which somehow with the Syrah struggles to grow because when it rains, the water goes right away on the sides. So there is a whole thought process and philosophy on building a vineyard, because you're going to influence the outcome of the wine in the bottle after, and that's the most important. Is in the bottle and has to invite you to a place, invite you to a story, invite you to a lifestyle, and Sonoma has been an amazing, obviously, place to grow a vineyard and tell a story through the wines.
No questions.
No questions.
After the 18, what are we tasting?
The 16. Yeah. So first vintage with Mark Harold, correct?
Correct. Yes, it did. Mark Harold has been introduced as the winemaker for now vintages, but when we planted the vineyard, we started to work with the closest winery in Ningbo, which was Eric Bradley, the winemaker for Repris. Eric Bradley is one of the masters of Pinot Noir winemaking in Sonoma with the Sojourn brand and many of other Pinot. Eric Bradley was the winemaker for Odelsa that was doing one of the top, what they call right bank Bordeaux blend from that area of Sonoma, of Moon Mountain district of Sonoma. And then we switched to the winemaker to Mark Harold when the vineyard was starting to produce its own grapes. After we've done the trials, we selected what was the best barrel to age the wine, and once we were ready, Mark Harold being familiar with the location, he was the winemaker that we decided to work with. All right, 2016. So keep in mind, 2015 was the first crop of the vineyard. 2016 is the second harvest of the vineyard. So the vines are learning to grow, and on the Grenache, my experience of the Rhone Valley is you have to wait 10 years to get a significant specific on the fruit, that the vine is comfortable with the roots and the depth of the growing to beat a grape, to deliver a grape that is going to bring an amazing wine. So After 10 years in the making now, we're going to have more and more complexity, strength. The puzzle is going to be more tight. But yes, 16 on the invitation is the first significant vintage, purely estate that we have done. But now, so 5 years, 5 years old, you are starting to see what is behind the scene, behind the front of the wine, behind the fruit, what's happening on the back end. So we use only 60% of new oak to not take over the wine. We want to preserve the freshness. We have 5 different coopers for the original oak, which is French oak barrels, obviously, that has a different signature of aromatic profile than the oak you can find from Bulgaria or even from the US. So we source our barrels from France. And let's now listen to the wine. Stop listening to me, just listen to the wine. Best advice ever. All right, so you have that even for a young vineyard, you have that darkness of the Cabernet Sauvignon, which still, for 5 years, I mean, I still see like ruby dark reflects the youth into the wine. So the potential of aging and the youth of the wine is still very present into the glass. On the nose, you still have that current berry fruit style of the Cabernet, but then it starts to move along to what is a classic expression of Cabernet Sauvignon, with a little bit of herbal notes and sappy and earthy notes, but it's more like on that signature that we were talking earlier about sage, bay leaves. There is something like encens, that like smoked herbs that takes over. And I'm almost like when you tie a bouquet garni when you're cooking, you put a little bit of thyme, a little bit of laurel or bay leaves, and that's to me what starts to develop into the wine, and which is a word that nobody likes to hear here in California. But I myself have a little bit of a sweet bell pepper onto the wine, which is the identity and the idea of the Cabernet Sauvignon. But it means often, when you have it in Bordeaux or Cabernet Sauvignon, that the wine is not ripe enough. So when we did the harvest here, with being that in October time frame, the grapes are super ripe, and that's the reason that there is barely vintages that you can find bell pepper flavor profile into the wine, or like 2010 or 2011. There were very cool vintage during harvest time that shuts down a little bit the overripeness of the fruit. But that builds up on the complexity to the vine. And you have with 16 this idea of potential aging, because the youth is still here, and it's going to be gently around. And the work on winemaking is specifically on finding the harmony on the texture. If you find tannins and you don't like tannins, I'm sorry, we really want the tannins on the wine and that grip and dryness at the end of the tasting, because it is what's going to hold the wine into the whole process of the tasting, and hold the wine strength when you're going to share it with a friend and on a dish and with cooking.
Joe, any questions?
Rhonda says she agrees, and it's soft just right.
Correct. Thank you, Ron. Question. I have a question. So there's Cabernet Franc which is one of the Bordeaux varietals on the property. Why was the decision made not to put any Merlot, Petit Verdot, Malbec, any of the other standard Bordeaux varietals while making a Cabernet in Syrah?
True. Obviously there is a reason. Potentially, Daniel has mentioned some grapes that you might not even have heard of, like Petit Verdot. But the tradition in Cabernet Sauvignon production in all world, or even in places like Australia, or even in Italy, or Maremma, Bulgaria, is to often have Cabernet Sauvignon mixed with other grapes, like in the southern Rhone Valley for the Grenache. You rarely have a Grenache 100% by itself because you need other components to build up on complexity and compensate the impact of nature or climate when it's going to be an incidence only on a single plant. So what is called the Bordeaux blend or Bordeaux varietal is usually 5 varietals that I'm going to add now something that nobody has heard of, and I'm sure not even Daniel. Okay. The French government that manages the AOC, which is Appellation d'Origine Contrôlée System, just allowed 5 more grapes for the Bordeaux winemaking, which one of the 5 grapes is a Marcelin. Marcelin is the cross of Grenache and Cabernet Sauvignon. You have the Touriga Nacional, which is a grape from Portugal, that you're going to be able to find in Bordeaux now. Yeah. Just because the vineyards and the environment is changing, and for the terroir to still exist, you need to find a balance and not being prisoner of the global warming and having a single profile of wine. So the idea of mixing varietals is to build up on complexity. But why didn't we plant Petit Verdot? Why didn't we plant Merlot? We have decided to stick on Cabernet Sauvignon, but if you remember the conversation earlier, we did plant the 60% of the whole vineyard with Cabernet Sauvignon with 3 different rootstocks that were selected because of the drought capacity of handling the specific of the creeks, of the stones, of the volcanic area. And then 11 different clones of Cabernet Sauvignon with a peak of Louis Martigny, with a peak of Bacchus Vineyard in Napa, with a peak of Hazeley, with a peak of many of these Cabernet Sauvignon vineyards. So they are all different individuals that are going to build up the complexity. And we didn't want to add more with Petit Verdot and Merlot. Merlot being the fruit. I mean, Merlot is the gentle side of this family of Carmenère grapes that are the Cabernet Sauvignon. Merlot is called the Merlot because this bird in France, the merle, the black, I mean, it's the name of the bird that is this grape is the first to be ripe. So you don't want early ripening grapes here in California because you're going to have overripe fruit to eat. Therefore, Cabernet Franc, we did plant 2 blocks of Cabernet Franc because Cabernet Franc is the granddad of the dad of Cabernet Sauvignon. Cabernet Sauvignon is a result of a cross of Sauvignon Blanc and Cabernet Franc. Cabernet Franc is where all started. So that granddad now has such a specific character that's quite, it's Saint-Emilion style. I mean, Cab Franc is a specific Bordeaux area style because it reaches a ripeness that works on that spot. So we did plant the Cabernet Franc on sunrise. We don't want the Cabernet Franc overburned by sunset. All the Cabernet is on the sunset area on Moon Hollow. So there is a thought process again on the blending component. And I'm taking advantage of Daniel's question to explain the Cabernet Franc story. Yes, we did plant 2 blocks of Cabernet Franc that probably represent 20% of the whole vineyard. But when we started 2016, all the Cabernet Franc is in the wine because we needed a bit of strength and show off because the vines were young. Then 17, Cabernet Franc, harvested after the smoke, the fire, smoke tank. 100% Cabernet Sauvignon for 2017 Moon Hollow. And 2018, we start to study the blending before the bottling. Oh my God, Cabernet Franc is too strong. It's like Syrah. No, we can't bring too much to Cabernet Sauvignon and take over this herbal identity that makes the wine special from Moon Hollow and Sonoma Mountain. So we decided to bottle the Cabernet Franc separately on its own, but we used 5% on the blend with the Moon Hollow 2018 Cabernet Sauvignon. There is 5% of Cabernet Franc inside because that's what the right amount to keep an harmony and an identity of the place. Sharing with you the secrets. On 2019, the blending, we tried the blending like 1 month ago because we're going to bottle the wine in July. That vintage has allowed us to use a little more Cabernet Franc. We used 8%. We tried 10, we tried 15, we tried 5. So the blending is to try to not put too much of a single character ahead of time, or too much of an instrument of an orchestra. An orchestra works because there is an harmony in between all the characters. So that Cabernet Franc is a seasoning, and when it's too much, it's going to be bottled separately. So no Merlot, because the idea was take away that fruit part and specific part of the varietal. That is delicious. I mean, Sutro, if I invite you to enjoy a beautiful wine from Merlot, from Sonoma, go to Sutro, Hanaki Ranch Vineyard in Sonoma, beautiful wine. They're friends of the Battery. Go to Aperture, Jesse Katz. He has an amazing Merlot blend, red wine that is beautiful. So they are amazing Merlot. They didn't match what we wanted to express from the spot. Neither Petit Verdot, the Franc and the Cabernet Sauvignon are the result of the story.
Okay. Question? No. The 12. Hey, okay, voilà. Yeah, voilà.
Even with young vines, by the way, 16 has a potential of aging. So those who signed up for the wine club at Moon Hollow will have access to library wine. So we only produced 200 cases of each of these older vintages when the vines were young, or while the vineyard was growing, and with the 12, for example, very little production, because we tried the recipes to apply to when the vineyard was growing and growing. And the result of all of these studies and recipes is the 2018 vintage.
Yeah.
While Daniel is pouring the 12, and because most of you know me from Battery, if there is any questions about the wine, even if it's not monologue, please send me an email. I'm happy to be your sommelier still and work with Daniel to provide any answer to your questions. We want to be of a service for you, so send me an email at christophe@batterysf.com. You will have my email on the website on moonhollow.com. Go visit the website. Make a little trip before we go up there all together in the vineyard. Make a little trip to the vineyard and see the pictures of the animals. So the goat, second goat on the right side on the picture is my best friend over there. But yes, they're all part. It's all family. So, and we will be grateful for you to join the wine clubs. 2012.
I think also to that point, with the launch, one of the perks of being a part of the wine club is you get 50% off on the wines here at the Battery that we have. So once you become part of the Moon Hollow Club, there is reciprocity between the two properties. Of course, we're all good friends. It's all good things.
Yes.
And so you'll be able to enjoy the wines here once you sign up on the website, and we get word of that, then we can honor that and we can be 50% off to enjoy here also at the Battery for the wines that we have. So just wanted to
No, thank you for that.
Yeah.
And I mean, there is a little restriction on it. The restriction is be sure that your membership at the Battery is completely separate from the winery. There is no mix of things. Right. So we sent emails to you. Then, if you decide to join, it's your voluntary action. There will be no sign up automatically because you are a member to the winery.
Right.
Unfortunately, we won't be able to tie both memberships. They are completely different. So thank you for working that out. And yes, the perk or the benefit we would want to share with you is if you decide on your own to be a wine club member at Moon Hollow at the winery, when you come at the Battery, it cannot be automatic, by the way. You have to sign up for that. You have to tell the sommelier, or you have to tell the front desk, hey, I am a member at the winery. I would like to take advantage of ordering a wine, and you're going to pay the price of the wine you pay at the winery, not the price of the wine menu at the battery. But it's important to say that it's not automatic sign-up things. This is an advantage that you can enjoy having your special price from the winery and order it from the menu, but there is no automatic sign-up for that. Just ask for it.
Yeah, for sure.
2012.
So
2012, with the truth of all our discussion, was the time that the vineyard was being replanted. So there is no production on 2012 from the estate. Where is the wine coming from? So while the vineyard was growing to the first harvest of 15 and then 16 that became significant, we decided to purchase fruit from the neighbors. I want to name because Cayman or Hopri winery with the closest vineyard of Cabernet Sauvignon from Moon Hollow. We tried the fermenting tank, the cold soaking. Send me an email, I will explain after what is cold soaking, on pre-fermenting the actions for the fruit to extract more from the fruit. We've tried the coopers, we've ordered the barrel to see which one will be the impact on the fruit growing on that location. So 2012 is the result of fermenting all vine fruit, all vine. The fire before 17 was 1996, the significant fire in Sonoma that burned some of the vineyards even. So the vines were all replanted after 1996, so they're 25 years old vines. But we purchased some fruit and we produced 200 cases of a wine that shows the potential of what we are being able to achieve at Moon Hollow. So 2012, just approaching the wine. So it's not that dark of an intensity. You're 9 years old now. You can almost see through, but it's still with this ruby note, with this freshness. You don't have sunset reflects on the rim of the glass. And to me, the most beautiful is the nose. You have almost like crème de cassis, currant cream. You have some notes of earthiness, of a truffle, wood, porcini mushroom. There is this complex blend of now what is called tertiary aromas in the wine, of evolution, of aging, and you still have the freshness of the signature of Cabernet Sauvignon, which is by the way 100% Cabernet Sauvignon, which is that style of currant, of berry. And for a wine that is getting close to this 10 years old, I find the wine absolutely beautiful.
Any questions, Joe?
No, but please encourage the question.
Okay. Yes, please start asking questions. If you've been shy thus far, please start sending them in. We would love to answer any questions. And thank you all for sticking with us and enjoying the tasting. So we'd love to hear what you have to say.
And while waiting, if you kind to send a few of your questions, after presenting the wine, introducing the wine, and talking about the aromas, I'm kind of happy to point what is the most important. I believe out of the body selection, the language of the wine is what is the overall texture part of the wine, because on the wine tasting, it's the time you're going to spend the most with the wine. Of course, you can stay a long time discussing the flavors, and it's very tied to your imagination. It's very tied to what you experiment with your memories. If I mention truffle and you never had truffle, what's the point? So everybody has his own way to express the feeling of the wine, but the textural part, which is the 3D part of the tasting. Now, you have the flavors coming out plus the texture. The harmony is the main work that we try to achieve, and tempering, calming down the strength of the climate of California, the way that the berry will express itself and wants to express itself. So it's finding the balance and the harmony. I think this wine is pretty amazing on how it shows up, on the balance of the tannins, of the softiness and the seductive part of it. But you don't have the edge of being overpowered of too much alcohol, of what can be achieved here in Napa with 16% alcohol wine or strong wine because they're just too ripe. So that's a beautiful analysis of the textural part of the wine, because it's what is now giving you the mechanical part, the textural part of the wine, and the ultimate harmony of the tasting that will be the good companion for food. That's going to be the good companion for discussion, and which is the potential all of the aging of the wine. So it is very much encouraging for our future, for the future of the wine we are making at Mourvedre, and we will not lose the streamline of the philosophy of the estate to bring to your table the story of the place with the wine, to tell you the story of Sonoma, of a fruit, mountain fruit that is grown to give its best without overtaking, without being overpowered, and with being ready for you when you decide to open the bottle. So as you see with the 18, you can enjoy it right now. As you see with the 12, you can be patient and aging in your cellar. And trust me, my best Cabernet from Napa was 1974 Height cellar. So 1959 Louis M. Martini, Cabernet Sonoma, 1978 Martini, Monterosso, 2012 that we have. So these are places and wines that has an amazing backup of history and tradition, which tradition and knowledge brings to make the best wine from the place without compromising the signature and the style of the area. So I hope that the wine is able to accompany, to highlight what I'm trying to share with you and tell you the truth. Trust the wine. Trust the wine. Always.
All right, Dan Kingsley asked again, are these the 4 varietals from Moon Hollow, or will there be others in the future?
Thank you, Dan. Question. So, as the wine director of the family and the property, I would love to extend a little more the vineyards and plant more. Therefore, it's now in that side of California, it's very much restricted. You have to respect. If you plant a vineyard, you have to consider the erosion, the irrigations, the things. So there is no plan at the moment to extend the vineyard, plant other varietals. Then, I mean, I'm gonna hopefully make fun of the question and saying, if tomorrow nobody likes Cabernet Sauvignon, there are plenty of options. The vines are a plant that, as much as you can let it grow on its own and give it its own personality, it's something that you can format your way. What am I saying with that? You can cut off the plant and graft it with a different varietal. So, as long as the roots are alive, you can do something different, which is not the culture of the old world and the philosophy of the estate. When you make a decision, you stick to it because the result of your decision is palpable, is being able to be analyzed by estimated after 20 years. So you don't want to change every day. So expansion of the vineyard, no, not possible yet. Change of the grapes, no. We want to stick to the decision and what has been done. We are proud to carry on the history of what has been made in this location. We want to be part of that book that says what happened in California on that area. And the Cabernet Sauvignon is the best speaker. So we work on it. We wanted a little bit of the proprietary red with the Grenache, Syrah, and Mourvedre to probably be able to approach wine at a more affordable price, is it? But yes, no changes. and so proud to be part of that area. Thank you.
That's it. Well, I think. Do you have anything else to add? I mean, we're 7:30. Should we let them go? Have we talked enough? Have you? No, it's been fun.
Thank you again for the gift of your time.
Yes,
All
absolutely.
warms my heart to think about new friends that I met before and we meet in the future. I'm working on being able to greet you at the ranch, visit the vineyard, hopefully having a tasting room soon. There was a few possibilities, but you know, passions. Wine is teaching you about passion, so we have it. Thank you so much. And, look forward to sharing a glass of Moon Hollow wine with you soon in the future.
Yes.
Visit the website, join us on the wine club, and you'll be able to have access to all of these wonders and our story.